Hey y'all, ex-art student here. Today I'm making a portrait on Photoshop. I have played on Photoshop before, but I've never actually done a painting like I would traditionally on a canvas with acrylic or watercolor or whatnot. This actually intimidated me a lot because I've never done it. And for some reason my brain was like, oh my gosh, how do I do it? Do I just do color of skin tone and then I add all the depth with color? How do I even do it? And then the other day I was like, wait, why don't I just approach it like I would with a real painting, where I block off some colors and then I add, and then eventually, because I add other colors, it will turn out well. So that's the method that I did. Sometimes I forget how simple things could be, especially because I was trained traditionally, that it's all the same. When it comes to real life things in art, maybe it's a portrait, maybe it's an animal study, or maybe it's a still life. The one thing that we were always taught is draw what you see, not what you think you see. And that's what it always comes down to. And it's hard to remember that sometimes, especially if it's something new, because you're like, wait, I know that this curve is supposed to be there. That's how all noses are curved. But you literally have to draw what is there and create your own shapes based on what you see, or else it will not turn out well or realistic at all. So the original photo was a portrait done in a car with the rain going down, and I just loved how cool all of the raindrops looked on the skin and the highlights that would come off of the lighting and the water. And I thought that would be really fun for a portrait and just really different, something new that I've never tried, and also difficult because I've never done it. But when I first found the photo, it was all in regular colors, but I decided to either make it black and white or just purple, so then it would be easier to figure out the values and just easily do shading, because if I could focus on one color, my brain was able to wrap around that concept versus realistic. One, because realistic colors are slightly boring to me, even though it's beautiful, but two, because I think it was just easier for me when it came to the values, like I said earlier. And I do kind of like how the raindrops almost look like some kind of plant root system, or maybe poison going through the skin. Just adds a cool dimension to the portrait that you wouldn't normally see. And I don't know, I'm always into fun portraits. I'm pretty happy with the brush that I chose on Photoshop. It's not supposed to be realistic like an actual paintbrush, and it's definitely not the same skill that I could do with a real paintbrush, but I do kind of like how it's chunky and almost airy. I had the opacity, I think, changing from like 50% to like 30, and then to certain points maybe I had it at 5%, so then it could kind of be layered and I could see which consistency was better and closer to a real painting for me. It was better for me to add onto it and create the colors and values that I needed. After I got the overall darker parts figured out, my favorite part was definitely adding the lightest parts, where that rain light reflection was, or refraction, I'm not too sure, but where it was the lightest point of the portrait. I think it really brought everything to life and made it more intense and fun to look at. And as always, contrast is a huge deal. The more contrast you have, the better the portraits look. A good thing to do while you're working digitally or even traditionally is somehow make it in black and white. Whether it's putting a Photoshop filter on top, or if you use your camera and then doing the effects and making it black and white, you're able to really see where the contrast is effective or where it's lacking. I wish I did this, but I only did it at the end of the portrait, and I was happy with the results, but I think it could have been better. And now it's time for those close-up shots. After stepping away from the painting and looking at it again compared to the reference, the eyes should be tilted down a little bit where the corners are, like towards the nose, and the lips look a little too pouty. But I'm still pretty proud of it for being my first painting on Photoshop. And if you liked my stuff, consider checking out my other things. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. See you next week. Thanks. Bye.